Welcome to another edition of False Nine. A little bit late this week. I do apologize. Truth be told, I ran late at the gym. It's really what it is. How are you doing today, Mark?
I'm doing good, man. A little under the weather, but we'll push through.
Something going around?
Yeah, something's going around, so we'll make do with what we got.
Gotcha. So I feel like this week, given the result that just happened, was much better. Um, Inter Miami played Columbus, and then we'll go ahead and get into that a little bit, and then of course we'll derail the show with what's coming up next. Not only for Inter Miami, but also the men's national team,
Yeah.
and the nonsense that's going on there. But let's jump right in. Mark, what do you have for us against Columbus? Big result, big 3 points. Tell us what went on.
Yeah. Going into the game or leading up to that game, we had a conversation of what could we expect from Inter Miami or what the prediction was, and I told you that I really wasn't sure with this team. That's the first time I ever felt unsure of Miami getting a result or us able to play on the same pitch as Columbus. I went to the game, and when the lineup came out, the back line didn't surprise me. But Benjamin Kramaski surprised me starting in the midfield with Busquets, and then his positioning was central and all that stuff. And I was feeling fairly confident. And then I saw the way that Columbus was playing and how we were playing. Some people say it was Columbus played a bad game, or was it Inter Miami playing such a good game that it made Columbus look really bad? Columbus had drawn four in a row, or four out of the last five coming to the game. They weren't in the best form, but still a respectable opponent, sitting top five in the East, and they always play us very good. But then I saw Miami pick apart their defense over the top with quick restarts, and that's how they got their first goal. Messi off a quick restart from just beyond midfield on our side, clips it over the top. Allende gets on the end of it, slots it home. So at that point, I was like, okay, could this be, something for Inter Miami? Then soon after that, we're gifted a goal by Nick Hagan, passes it straight to Messi uh, off them playing out of the back. Messi chests it down, puts it over him. Hagan gets a hand on it, but Messi's got too much power on it and goes in for a second goal. So I'm feeling fairly confident, right now how Inter Miami are playing. I'm looking at the game. I'm seeing what's open. Klimaskian and Segovia playing real central, giving us a different look than what we've had with them playing wide. And that goes to show that putting players in the right position really attributes to good play from them. Um, it's easy to pick out the bad in those players when they're playing out of position out wide. You can say, oh, he's not. You can say, oh, he's not suited there. Oh, he's this. Oh, he's that. But when they're playing central and they're playing on the ball, they're playing defensive minded or as box to box, you can really, it really makes a difference for the whole team, and you can really tell that the whole team is gelling. And I thought that was the result of that on Saturday this past weekend. And then we get a third goal as Busquets pinpoints a pass into Messi's path. Messi lets the ball take a bounce or two. Keeper comes off his line. He just clips it over, and it's 3-0 going into the half. And at that point, 3-0, you're sitting, you're liking what you see.
You good?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm just catching my breath. It was a lot there, so
I
I'm
know,
just
I
out of
know.
breath.
Yeah.
I felt like I just went a full 45. Oh man. So yeah, I'm at the stadium. The stadium's pretty rocky. I gotta admit. Nice to see. Um, and then we make a change at halftime for Rocco Rios Novo comes on for Ustadi. Marciano attributed it to muscle fatigue, and then he didn't want to risk it, coming up with the Club World Cup and things like that. So I get it. It's nothing that, really worried me up 3-0. Columbus really didn't look anything of dangerous. I felt as if Messi, Kinamowski, Segovia, Busquets, Noah Allen, all those guys were our top performers. Suarez gets on the end of a goal off a good play from Inter Miami, finding fighting Chelo, then Chelo finds Messi, Messi finds Segovia off to his left, who slides it to Busquets, to Suarez, who puts it near post, and it's 4-0 at that point. Excuse me, 3-1, and then makes it 4-1, and then Fafa Pico caps off a great night for the Herons at the end, off an assist from Messi. Messi, 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 goal involvements, leads the league in goal involvements this year. Looks like he's, going to try to get that MVP once again. And now we go into the break sitting top 4.
Third.
In the East, yeah, third with a game in hand, and we're hitting. This game could be one of those that you hit your stride for Inter Miami. Talking about the league play, because we're going in now. We get the break for the Club World Cup, so we'll see how the boys play in that.
So you feel confident enough to say that this is a game that can propel them to hit their groove?
It can. It's going to be very, very tough because I know there's a lot of people are going to expect a lot going into this Club World Cup. And realistically, you got to look at it as these are the best teams in Europe that won their leagues. Al Ahly,
In
is an
Egypt,
Egyptian team. Yeah, they sit first. It could be one of those 4-0, 3-0 games for Miami either way, losing 3-0 or winning 3-0. You can see either side, but hopefully we're on the winning side. And then we have Porto right after that, a big team in Portugal. They have Portugal's number 1 in Diogo Costa in goal. It's going to be that may not be a pretty game. I just want the guys to show out on the world stage per se, and then put out a good showing, and then get right back into the MLS and take that step and really go with it.
Okay, so do you think that I'll ask the first question. Going back to the Columbus game, do you think the lineup is a sign of things to come, or do you think it was a one-off kind of changes, and then Mascherano's going to revert back to what he was doing before, which wasn't working? And number 2 is, do you think that with the results against Montreal and now Columbus, that they're back, as opposed to leaving questions still to be answered moving forward?
To your first question, I think it's more of the lineup was more a product of who was available to play. I don't predict that lineup to be one that we'll see again if our team is fully healthy. You had injuries to 3 center backs. He didn't want to use. You had three injuries to defenders. I'm sorry, not center. And if you look at our injury report, it's all hamstring injuries. And then you have Baltasar Rodriguez, who's been a ghost of a player that we've only heard the name. Saw 17 minutes of him, looked promising in those 17 minutes, but injured again. Hopefully, he's able to find some sort of consistency with his nagging hamstring injury, if you want to call it that. And then I got Aviles didn't want to test the ankle, and Beluca Falcon stepped in. Martinez stepped in for Gonzalo Lujan. So, and then Jordi Alba was out, and Noah Allen stepped in. So I don't think we'll see that lineup again. It was a lineup that worked. I think the tactic and the setup of the 2 central midfielders with Busquets helped more than anything. Um, and your second question was it, if the result against Montreal and Columbus
So, are you
are
satisfied with what you saw
yes,
from them in these two games? And
you,
you're like, okay, their back is
I
fit.
think you have to be because going back 3 weeks, um, you couldn't be satisfied with Inter Miami and what they were putting out. So putting out two dominant wins against, one was bottom tier team, the other was a top four team. You have to be happy, and you have to look forward to, okay, can this be a run of play and a stretch of games that like to fire under them and really takes this team to where they should be.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back to follow up on that first question and say, do you see this? So let me rephrase. You don't see this as a reintegration of Maxi Falcon when healthy, Toto, you know, the the best in our eyes defensive lineup. You see this as, well, they're playing because that's who they were, that's who was available, and as people get healthy, um, eh, Falcon back to the bench, Toto back to the bench, uh, you know, all these guys
Yeah,
back to having non-existent roles.
I think it'll be once fully healthy again. I think it'll be Lujan and Noah Allen and Jordi Alba and maybe Ian Frey and Cello. Those two, Frey got the last two starts, then um, Cello got this start against Columbus, so it'll be tough to tell. But I think that back line, at least Lujan, Allen, Jordi Alba are the mainstays.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied or dissatisfied are you with Luhan being a mainstay in the lineup?
4 or 5.
So you are dissatisfied with that.
I am because I it's very difficult to for me to look at this player as someone I was really excited about because I was very neutral to his signing. Nothing stood out. Nothing still stands out. Um, like I said, he gets beat. He's not physically gifted in any sense. He's not our fastest, but for something, Mascherano likes him. Um, and I'm not the manager. I'm not have no say in the team. I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. So
You
I'm
have
not
my
sure. You know, if he keeps putting out good performances, good for him. And if it's helping the team, I'm all for it. Um, but if it starts, if it's such a noticeable, disservice to a player like Avilas, who's on the bench, who's probably a better defender or has better skill set in the defending tree than Lujan, then I don't know why he's not playing. And the thing with the whole yellow cards and stuff, I mean, you're gonna hold them accountable for yellow cards. You might as well hold Jordi Alba or Luis Suarez accountable for their yellow cards too.
Okay. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, I'll go into I'll go back to the transition you made. Club World Cup. Do you think this team is whole? Do you think that there are any last second signings to reinforce this team given the leeway MLS has given these teams?
Um, it's looking very bleak right now. Um, as we said, De Bruyne went to Napoli. Uh, AC Milan is keen on signing Luka Modric. Uh, Angel Di Maria went back home to Rosario. I do not foresee Paul Pogba coming here. Um, the only name that keeps circulating around Inter Miami for the time being is Brian Rodriguez, the Club America winger, who did acknowledge that there has been contact with the team, and we'll see where it goes from there. But it's, I don't know, the Club World Cup starts, this weekend. Not this weekend, excuse me, next weekend, the 14th for us. So I don't know what we're gonna do if we do anything.
Okay, so I understand that all the names you mentioned um, signed with other teams.
Hmm.
However, those seasons don't start for some time, and every league has a break for the Club World Cup.
Yeah,
Do you anticipate those names possibly signing just for the Club World Cup?
I don't foresee it. I think those guys kind of want to break, um, and really just rest for the summer, and they're playing some play deep into the season. Uh, Luka Modric at almost 40 years old probably wants to, if he's going to sign with AC Milan, probably wants to give his body a little break and reset, and get ready for the next season. Um, you know, I don't I don't think any of those guys play in the World Cup, in the Club World Cups, and that's it.
So you don't anticipate any of those guys who, like for example, Modric. I don't anticipate Modric playing in another World Cup.
No, he's not. I
Right.
don't anticipate him playing in the Club World Cup or signing for another team. No,
Well, that was going to be my question. I don't see him playing in a World Cup anymore. I just
I don't. I
he.
don't. I don't see him playing in this Club World Cup. I don't see De Bruyne. I don't see those. No.
I was going to ask since he's not playing in the regular World Cup in 2026. Um, if maybe he thought maybe this Club World Cup would be his last hurrah, but you don't see that happen.
No, no. If that was the case, he probably would have stayed with Real Madrid and signed with them for the Club World Cup, and then just gone into AC Milan right after.
All right. Um, Now to properly derail the show. Um,
Okay.
the U.S. men's national team roster came out for the Gold Cup, and there were some notable omissions. We'll start off with some of the less controversial ones. Sergino Dest pulled out; he will not
Hmm.
be participating. Um, what do you make of number one, Sergino pulling out, and number two, the roster presented by the U.S. men's national team in Pochettino for this Gold Cup?
Um, I think Serginho pulling out means he's not really 100% maybe mentally ready, fully fit, ready to play. And I
Mhm.
get that coming off an ACL injury. He wants to make sure he's 100%. And if that's the case, he pulled out for that reason. As for the rest of the team and the decisions Pochettino made and who was omitted and stuff like that, um, I don't know why Pulisic didn't want to come if
That's
he's gonna
going to
play.
be my next topic. Let's skip over him.
Fine, fine. I mean, top to bottom, I'm looking at the roster right now.
To me, it's a C.
I
I don't think it's a
I
B.
mean it could be labeled a C squad with a lot of players really trying to make a name for themselves in the camp and trying to make that World Cup roster, specifically the Vancouver guys in Brian White and Sebastian Berhalter and the Real Salt Lake
Ah, 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 ah,
strategy.
ah, 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 ah. I will speak about the
That
enigma,
guy,
is the name you're going to say a little bit later as well.
fine, okay. I mean, goalkeeper, they put Chris Brady, Matt Freeze, and Matt Turner. We know who the number one is.
Turner.
It's because
That,
if you're starting
that is
Matt if you're starting Matt Freeze or Chris Brady, that says more about the lone wolf in Matt Turner than it says about those two.
okay.
Because those two guys should, huh?
Because Turner has been bad the last couple of times.
He barely played for Crystal Palace this season, so I don't even know. I don't know what his form is. All right, moving on to defenders. You're getting guys who are making their first starts with the
Correct.
Alex, or their first appearances if they get in the game. Alex Freeman, Nathan Harriel, who else? And that's it for defenders. Then you get Max Arston, Mark McKenzie, Tim Ream, Chris Richards, Miles Robinson, John Tolkien, Walker Zimmerman.
Mm-hmm.
You can put a decent defense out there with either Miles Robinson and Chris Richards, Tim Ream and Walker Zimmerman. I think you have 4 center backs to choose from. Tim
Okay.
Ream, Chris Richards, Miles Robinson, Walker Zimmerman.
Okay.
I would probably guess that John Tolkien starts at left back, or you play a higher line with Max Arston, and then Alex Freeman and Harriel as your right backs. It's going to be very interesting. But I do feel these 4 guys, I know Tim Ream is a lot older
Mm-hmm.
and the oldest of the bunch, and he's probably I would say those 4 are your best 4 center backs in the USA men's pool, senior pool.
Miles, Chris, Tim,
Walker. Yeah.
Okay.
It says, I mean, I wish John Brooks would somehow get back into this camp, but I think that ship has sailed a long time ago, so I'm not really holding off for anything there.
Okay.
And then, do you want to say something?
Before we get into midfielders,
Okay.
give me your notion on the enigma that is Diego Luna.
I love Diego Luna.
I do too.
Now, where do you play that guy?
I think you got to give him the freedom that you would have given a player such as Gio Reyna, because he's such a spark plug. Diego Luna is what the U.S. men's national team is missing. The gritty, spunky, hustle. He's what we want the U.S. men's national team to play more like, as opposed to the I'm too cool for school, individualistic style of play that we've seen as talent has gotten better in the national team.
Okay.
That's just my opinion on him. And yes, I love him.
Diego Luna was the only player that showed up in that Nations.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? The
Nations Cup, the Nations League.
Not the Nations League. That's in Europe. It's whatever the CONCACAF Nations Cup or whatever the hell that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I go back to last season when I really liked him at what he was doing at Real Salt Lake. Dynamic midfielder who can play off the left, off the right, but really creative. Something that this midfield needs. Without we always look to Gio Reyna as the guy to pull the strings and stuff like that, or Pulisic. I think Gio Reyna's time
has passed.
Has gone. The lack of playing time at Dortmund, the injuries, he needs to make a move. And going into the World Cup year, if he doesn't perform at all wherever he's at, he's not making that team.
Is it, speaking of Gio, is a move to MLS feasible, or does he have to stay in Europe?
A move to the MLS, I think, would do him good. Somewhere where he's got to get playing time. He's got to play.
Right. That's my motive behind.
He's got to go somewhere where he's going to play. You cannot go somewhere and sit. So
that was my thinking. The move to MLS.
But then you look at this. You look at the entire the guys who made the roster at midfield. Um,
Brandon.
I mean, had a great year at Leeds.
Hmm.
Um,
Granted, it was in the championship.
that's fine. He got them. He helped them get promoted. Tyler Adams.
He just
I like Tyler Adams. I always will. I always have. I like Tyler Adams. Johnny Cardoso, Betis player, just they made a move to Atletico Madrid.
right.
So another guy that's really played well in La Liga. Luca De La Torre, San
Hmm.
Diego FC. Diego Luna, Salt Lake. Jack McGlynn, Houston. Quinn Sullivan, um,
You
Philadelphia. And then Malik Tillman. You and Sebastian Berhalter. Excuse me, I skipped over. I think you can make a nice midfield there, um, with those players. You know, it'll be very interesting what Pochettino does with the first starting 11. Um, but he's got some players that he can choose from. You know, it's a C team, as you said, teetering on a B minus team. Um, but this is what he wants. So these are the players he likes. So he's got to make it work with that midfield because it's been a revolving door in that midfield since the injuries to Weston McKennie and to another guy Yunus Musa, who's kind of lost his place in AC Milan. He's going to look to make a move to get back into this camp going into the World Cup. So it's almost as you can almost say this Inter Miami to put it into our show into false nine to Inter Miami related. The Inter Miami rotating door of midfielders when it was Redondo, Bright, Gramaski, and these guys is the same thing that Marcelo has here that Pochettino has in the U.S. camp. He's got to find what works and not play players out of position.
okay? Okay. Now, to the question of all questions, your thoughts on Pulisic saying he needed a break?
BS because he played in a meaningless last game of the season to AC Milan for AC Milan. You want to be the captain of this team. You want to be the hey ho hero in your World Cup year. Play, bro. What do you have to lose? You got to redeem yourself for a gold for the Nations Cup or whatever. You got to do something here. Just play. He's our most talented player
Yes.
without a shadow of a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he's not our vocal leader. He's not the voice on the pitch. He's not the rock that will lead the team. You want a true captain, huh?
He's not Clint Dempsey.
No, no. In the mentality aspect, he's not. And we haven't seen a Clint Dempsey walk through that door. Maybe Tyler Adams had some of that bite in him when healthy and stuff like that.
Diego has it.
He does, but I don't think he's got the leadership aspect of it. He's too young, too raw. He's still too young. I don't.
The guys who've had it have all been defenders. Walker, Tim, Sergino. But Sergino was that rock for a sec and then just went off the rails.
Another guy, Anthony Robinson.
I don't think he's vocal enough.
He's not, but he's one of our better players.
I think he might be the best player in the team right now.
He's not even on this squad.
Correct, but he just had surgery.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
All right. Expectations for Inter Miami in this Club World Cup.
You get a group with Porto, Palmeiras, Al Ahly, and Inter Miami. At the first look of that team or of that group, excuse me, it's easy to say, oh, Inter Miami can, get into that game, get out of the group. But this Palmeiras team have some pretty good players.
Yes, they do.
And I'll skip over that Porto now because they have Victor Roque coming over. Victor Roque, Richard Rios, who I think is a great player for Colombia.
Yes.
I think he'll make a move to Europe very soon. They have Felipe Anderson, who played for West Ham, played for Lazio, Brazilian, dynamic midfielder. When he's a little older now, but still nonetheless, I wouldn't be surprised if he can still play at a good level for this Palmeiras team. Hasn't scored or no assists for them this year, but still never overlook a player. Facundo Torres, the Uruguayan
Yes.
National player, played for Orlando City. Got moved at the end of, or at some point last year, I believe. He's a fiery little midfielder who can play, centrally, can play a little wide. So look out for him. And where's my other player that I was? And they have Weverton, who is their Brazilian national team goalie. Paulinho, another forward. So it's not an easy, walkthrough group, especially with another team like Porto, who possesses such a dynamic challenge. For him, a European team never played that style before. So Fabio Vieira, Pepe, who else they have? Samu, Rodrigo Mora. They've got players, and I said Diego Costa and goal. He's a rock back there. So if Inter Miami can get a result versus Al Ahly, who they probably have the best chance to do so against them than the other two teams.
Do they get out of the group second?
Wow. I understand the weight that this tournament holds for people in Miami and for the Inter Miami, for the media and all that or the MLS media specifically for Miami to not get grouped. They may come in second. That Palmeiras game would be very, very big. Because I think they lose to Porto.
Right.
I just think the talent level and level of European football is just so different. I know these guys are just coming fresh off a season, and we're in the midst of our season. Both fresh teams, so it could be ugly for us that game. So be wary. He could be a game that we win, and then if we're able to sneak a draw against maybe one of the other two teams, we could come in second.
So yes, will they get out of the group second?
Yes, let's go for it. Yes.
Okay. Alrighty. On the record that
ask me how confident. I said yes, and I may not be as confident, but I say yes.
Give me a percentage. Yes, they get out of the group, and I give them this % chance of it happening. If it's less than 50, you're a fraud.
51.
You're a fraud.
Oh man, it's just I haven't really. It's these global tournaments with all these teams. It's so difficult to gauge. MLS being the weakest of the big leagues, and us, never, and us getting, look at what just happened to Vancouver against Cruz Azul. They get absolutely mopped in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Absolutely dragged the floor with. They were played off the pitch in the first 30 minutes. It was 4-0 at halftime. And that Vancouver team beat us handedly. Handedly.
I understand. That goes back to my question. I asked you, do you think the results that just happened gave you the confidence that they had fixed the issues they had. You said yes.
Yeah, I mean,
You said yes.
I didn't say that they fixed the issues. I said, does it give you asked me, does it give me hope that they can play better going into this cup?
I asked you if you thought that they were back, and you
I
said
didn't say they were back. I said it should give them confidence and light a fire going into the tournament, given the results they got. Doesn't mean that Mark Gonzalez, thinks they are back.
okay. So
I
what?
said they beat up on an eight, and they beat up on the one of the worst teams in the East, and in general in the whole MLS, and they beat a good Columbus team, disregarding their last result. So you
Okay,
get a good result against a bad team and a good result against a good team.
okay. That was my now. My question is this: do those results tell you that the best version of this team is going into the Club World Cup, or do you think that those results are independent, and you think that there is an absolute enigma, Pandora's box, Riddler question marks all over this team going into the Club World Cup?
In tournaments and international tournaments that don't involve the MLS, there are question marks. I mean, this team, and I mean, let me rephrase this. In
You're having trouble with this.
if we were continuing the MLS and the MLS season right now, I would be I would be happy about these results.
Mm-hmm.
I think the opponents scare me more than our recent run of form.
Okay.
I think who we're coming up against and our showing on tournament stages scares me more than or worries me more than or has more questions than do I think if these two results hold any weight going into this tournament.
Okay. Now, do you think that the teams that we are playing against, a well-known Porto team, Palmeiras, really good team in the Brazilian league, and I'm
Alahi,
uh-huh. Do you think that Messi, Alba, Busquets, Suarez, do you think that, for lack of a better term, the boredom in these MLS Mexican League tournaments that
gets
seem
to them.
there, they can kind of flip a switch and be like, all right, this is what we want. That's not to say the rest of the team is going to be able to flip that switch.
I think it's more true or truer, or that switch can be flipped easier for 3 out of 4 guys.
Okay.
The fourth one that I don't, the one that I don't think can flip it is Suarez.
You
I
think
just
Suarez
don't think he's
is flipping?
physically. I don't think he's physically able. I could be wrong, to match that. If Porto comes out, steaming and absolutely just bulldozing defensively, I don't know what he's gonna do. I understand he's got the quality. I understand he's got the technical ability. I just don't know about the physical ability that he still has.
Okay.
There's a difference between the MLS defender and the
Mm-hmm.
European defender. A big difference. I don't
Okay.
know.
Given the lack of confidence you have and the opponents we have,
And look, and the opponents we have might be like the opponents we have might be the easiest in the Club World Cup in our group. People say we got, blessed with what we got. I can just look at the groups right now and see who got really hosed, and I can tell you where we sit. We're in Group A. Okay, that's better. It's better than in Group E, because then you'd have to play River Plate, Monterrey, and Inter. Better than Group B, because then you'd have Paris Saint-Germain and Atletico Madrid, which would absolutely we lose 10-0 each game. Each game is 10-0. I don't care how you word it. 10-0. And they have Botafogo and Seattle Sounders. Okay. Then you get Dortmund.
No. Group C would be Bayern.
Group C is Bayern, Benfica, and Boca Juniors. Cooked all three. Don't care. Then you have
Chelsea,
Flamengo, LAFC.
Flamengo's good.
You get cooked probably. You're getting worked. Group E, River Plate, Monterrey, and Inter Milan.
Inter Milan coming off getting mollywopped in the Champions.
That's fine. Lautaro Martinez would probably bags a hat trick in the first 20 minutes.
Okay.
It's no. Then you get Group F, Dortmund,
Fluminense.
I don't know who the other two teams are. Okay, doesn't matter.
I don't know.
Dortmund walks us probably. Then you get Group G. The two big dogs are City and Juventus. You want to play City right now against Holland? Would you like to play Manchester City? Would you like to play Juventus?
What would our defenders do against Holland?
Nothing. They would try to move and he'd be in on net against Ustadi's statue of a body. Then you get Group H. You want to go ahead and play freaking Real Madrid?
That game is 37-0.
That game is, I'm turning it on just to see how many people are there and probably, turning it off at some point. Vinicius Jr. and Mbappe. Could you imagine just those two? Can you imagine Vinicius Jr.?
Luhan?
No. We start. Machado puts out Jello against Vini Jr.
He may samba the whole game.
Could you imagine what would happen?
He's gonna samba the whole game. Have no idea what the fuck he's doing.
And then Mbappe versus our two center backs. Noah Allen, you're great and all, but buddy, this is a World Cup champion. This is Mbappe. Good luck. You're not touching him. We'd be so outmatched and outclassed, it's not even funny.
Salzburg would mop us.
Probably. Monterrey would probably mop us. River Plate would probably work us.
Who's not gonna mop us?
Who's not gonna mop us?
Al Hilal.
Why?
No, never mind. Never mind. That's not them. I apologize.
Who? Who are you thinking of?
The Ronaldo team.
Al Nasser?
Al Nasser. Yes, Al Nasser.
Yeah, they're not in it. Ronaldo may be in it, but they're not. Dude.
Social media would burn.
You want Desiree Doué and Dembele and Vitinha and Barcola running and Kvaratskhelia running at our defense. It'd be pretty funny to watch. I'm telling you right now. But if Inter Miami play a top level European team from whatever league, it is not a game. I don't care what the Messi goers say. Oh, we have Messi. I do not give a flying. Don't even finish the sentence. Leave it at that. We are getting dog walked.
Okay. All right. And this team is the one that he says is getting out of the group second.
Yeah, why not? You have to say that, don't you?
No,
I have to say that.
You don't have to say that.
Okay, they finished third.
You think they finish above?
I think Al Ahly finishes last, Inter Miami third, Palmeiras second, Porto one.
Okay.
Those are my realistic.
Okay, that's what I wanted from the beginning. I didn't want
gotta have fun.
Pandering.
No. I realistically think that we finished third.
Okay. Those were my. That's what
it's very hard for me to wrap my head around those finishing second with who we have at the helm of this team and how we play in those tournaments. I
don't think we're good enough to finish second in that group. Period. My expectation was third.
Could I be wrong? Sure.
We all could. We could absolutely be wrong.
But would I love to be wrong? 100%.
Of course.
But realistically, and I'm not taking anything away from Inter Miami. It's not all I care about is I don't care about the Club World Cup. I really don't. I have I don't care. I'd rather win the MLS Cup. That would mean more than to me, the MLS, the name Club World Cup, you win it, you're amongst the biggest clubs in the world. Congratulations. You don't win the freaking league that you're playing in, but you win that. It doesn't make any sense.
What would be a dream tournament for you for Inter Miami? To get out of the group and win a game?
Group and then win it and make it to the quarters, probably.
You'd be over the moon.
Yeah, because at that point you're probably going to play some pretty good competition.
Okay. I agree. I agree with that.
I mean, you win one knockout against a decent opponent, and let's say it's against a Boca Juniors. For that, let's just hypothetically say it's a Boca Juniors that you play against and you beat them, and then you come up against a big dog.
Because does the Club World Cup work in the same way that the World Cup does?
And like A plays B and this and that. I don't know.
Because if that's the case, we're either playing Champions League champion PSG or Atletico Madrid.
Might as well pack your bags and just call it a day, because you're not playing on the same field as those two teams. You physically will not play on those two fields.
All right. And okay. So before we get out of here, men's national team they finished what in the Gold Cup?
Who do we play? When do we play? I'm so. We play Sunday. Sorry, against Trinidad. You gotta win that game.
What do they do? Do they get to a final?
Hold on, man. Give me 1 second. Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Bury the hatchet with the Panama nonsense and all the other stuff. Get to the final. Yep. Do it.
Okay.
Figure it out.
All right.
If not, I'll be back here and we might have to turn this into a different type of false nine show. That's
for that USA. Day. Absolutely would. 100%.
I'll change my background. I'll put, change the stadium in the back, change all the coloring.
No. We'll turn it into a U.S. men's national team show for that one day.
Perfect.
All right. Well, with that, you have anything else before we get out of here?
Thomas Nosek.
Huh?
Thomas Nosek had a bad penalty yesterday.
I don't think it's his fault. It wasn't on purpose.
I'm not saying it was on purpose, but he had so much ice and just to play it on the boards.
I understand. I'm not spewing.
I'm not. Listen, he's a good fourth line center. Fourth line was really big for us in the playoffs. Still has been.
I still think we win the series.
I'm down. I'm in it. Let's go. Panthers in 6. Figure it out.
Yes, I agree. Panthers in 6. Figure it out. All right. For everyone here at Kendall Sports Network, Mark, Alex, Johnny, Manny, and the other Mark, Mr. Barroso, part of the Fish Tank Pod, we would like to thank everyone who tuned in, everyone who's watching on YouTube via recording. Thank you so much for your support, and we'll see you guys next week. Have a great one, guys.